ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Okay, so we completed the 8th verse last time. Any questions, any clarifications? Or are we ready to start with the 9th?
Yes, Swami.
Ready to start?
Yes, Swami.
Okay. Let's check it up. Okay. We are ready to start. In fact, in many texts, you will find the published work Dakshinamurti Stotram being called Dakshinamurti Ashtakam. Only 8 verses. Okay? Only 8 verses. Because the knowledge has been unfolded there. 9th and 10th verses are support for that. Okay? For gaining this knowledge, what is it that one needs to do? Apart, of course, from Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, what is it that one needs to do? That is being said in the 9th and 10th verses. So, as a sadhaka, that becomes important. Okay? Because we need to know what are the lacunae in us because of which we can't get our nishtha in the knowledge. So, that much is important. Okay. So, without much ado, Palguni, can you chant this verse once again? The 9th one?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay.
Puram ham sanalo nilom paramahar namho himamshu kuman idya bhati characharatmakam sevamurtyashtakam nanyat kinchana vidyate vibhashatam yasmat parasmat vibhoho tasmai Sri Guru Murtaye Namadam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Tasmai Sri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. To that Dakshinamurti, my namaskara. How do you look at Dakshinamurti now? Here it is. Okay. Yasyeva Murti Ashtakam. This the Ashtakam that was said, the 8 verses that was given to them. Now, this is an 8-fold body. You are invoking Dakshinamurti as Ishvara himself, and this Ishvara having an 8-fold form. We have seen it before also. It's called Ashtamurti Brat Deva Pujanam. Deva Pujanam, worship of Ishvara in an 8-fold form. Now, what is this 8-fold form? Bhuhu, the earth. Ambasaha, the water. Analaha, fire. Nilam, Anilam, air. Okay. Ambaram, Akashaha. Arthaha, the sun. Himamshu, the moon. Puman, the person. Okay, 8. The translation gives that, but these are the 8. Itya bhati charatmikamidam yasyeva murti ashtakam. This 8 makes up the whole universe. Chara charatmikam. Moving, immovable universe, all of it is made by this 8-fold form. Nanyat kinchana vidyate. Nothing other than this. Vimarshatam yasmat parasmat vibho. To think, to analyze, to look at it. Other than this, there is nothing else, he says. Yes. Yasmat parasmat vibho. For that all-pervading absolute self, there is nothing other than that.
Therefore, to that Dakshinamurti, my namaskara. Simple words. But why at this stage is he bringing in Ishvara, Deva Pujanam, etc. after having talked about all the depth of Vedanta? Let's look at that. Let us look at what Sureshwara has to say on that. Katham eva vidha maya nivrteti panch pruchataha Ishvara upasana rupaha tad upayaha prakirtitaha upayaha prakirtiyate Katham evam vidha maya. The maya that we have talked about in the previous verse elaborately, Katham nivartate. How can I negate that? Iti pruchataha. When you say that, Ishvara upasana rupaha tad upaya prakirti. He gives you an upaya. What is that? Ishvara upasana. Now Maya manifests in my mind as avidya, as ignorance. And for ignorance to go, what you need is knowledge. The knowledge has been given in the last 8 verses, elaborately. Elaborately it has been given. Then why this question? How come this question has come up? How will this Maya go? How will this Maya go? Why this question comes up? Anyone can answer why this question comes up? Come on, guys. All quiet?
I can try.
Huh?
Can I try?
Yeah, please.
For knowledge to have, because pramana, you need to have shraddha and nishtha in the shastra. So when you have, when you understand and when you unfold, you need to have devotion towards Ishvara also. And that will help you to understand and have nishtha, shraddha, because then you have an emotional connect and response to Ishvara also.
Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. Okay. Anyone else wants to add something? No. What happened? Remember in the Gita we came up Mama Maya Duratyaya. My Maya is very difficult to cross over. And as Kavita rightly said, what happens is there's always some lacuna in me, as a student. Always something missing. Okay? Pramana is there. The Guru is unfolding. I, the seeker, am there. But my mind may not be fully ready for it. Some past papas, some issues may still be there. Okay? Therefore, for that mind to be taken care of, that Ishvara Upasana is given, worship of Ishvara, etc., to gain the grace of Ishvara. Because what we are trying is the most important thing in the world. Everything else that we do keeps us going in samsara, helps us manage samsara, and that's important. This is the only thing that will free you from the problem of samsara. It will completely free you from it. Therefore, to gain this freedom is not an easy task. There will be 101 obstacles coming in your way. external, internal, both. Okay. Therefore, Ishvara Anugraha is necessary. Therefore, for that sake, you worship Ishvara. Secondly, to directly say I am everything may be a bit difficult. Emotional acceptance of that fact may be a little difficult. Logically, you may understand it. The heart may struggle to accept it. Why? Because the heart is still caught up in the world and its issues. Heart is still caught up in the world and its issues. Because it's caught up in the world and its issues, to accept that I am everything may not be easy. Therefore, Ashtamurti Brut Deva Pujana, that Ishvara we are talking about, is all inclusive. It's all inclusive. When we say Hinduism is inclusive, this is what we mean. Okay? Inclusiveness doesn't mean that someone can come and sit on my head and say, you are inclusive, therefore accept me, sitting on your head. Okay? No, that's not the inclusiveness we are talking about. That we see the whole universe as a manifestation of Ishvara. Therefore, there is only Ishvara, nothing else. Therefore, at least if we can see that there is Ishvara and nothing else, and you feel that connectedness, then to say that I am that Ishvara which is everything is one small step. For Vedanta is one small step. Maybe a big step for the seeker, but still it's feasible, it's possible. What happened? Any questions coming up? No? Okay. So it's one small step. Therefore, this becomes the understanding of Ishvara becomes important at multiple levels of understanding Vedanta. Okay? At this level, this is what he's talking about. See, for unfolding Vedanta, Tattvamasi, etc., understanding of Ishvara is necessary. Okay? Understanding of Ishvara is necessary. How do you understand Tattvamasi? The collective whole is important. Here at this level, for your heart to accept. The knowledge that has gone in has to sink to the heart. No? For that to happen, okay, Ishvara Upasana. Okay? Ishvara Upasana for this to happen. Important step. Therefore, see, Ishvara Upasana Rupaha Tad Upayaha Prakriti. He is always giving you an upaya. Okay. That is why it is not contemplation on any given form. It's a contemplation on the totality. That's how it is looked upon. Shatrisam Satrupasu Parameshwamurtishu Pratyekshena Upalabhyante Sarveyapi Ashtamurtayaha Parameshwamurtishu 36 tattvas. Shatrisam, Shat 36 tattvas. These 36 tattvas are from Shivagama. Okay? From Shivagama. We have seen this in the second chapter, verses 31 to 42. The 36 tattvas, Mahatattva, Mahankaram, etc. Shivagama. Because, why is he quoting Shivagama here? Because you are looking at Dakshinamurti. Therefore, he is quoting Shivagama. Therefore, this 36 forms which makes up Parameshwara, Pratyekshena Upalabhyante Sarvehi Ashtamurtayaha. That is directly seen when you understand Ishvara as the Ashtamurti. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi.
known to everyone. Sun and the moon. Any questions? Okay. Okay. Therefore, the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, known to everyone, seen by everyone. Sun and the moon, seen by everyone. Person, I, seen. Pratyakshena, avalambhyate, upalabhyate. Everyone sees this. Okay. Sarve api ashtamurteha. And now Ishvara's, this is Ishvara's form. Anything left out in the creation? Nothing is left out. Including the consciousness, because I, the person, has come into the picture. Therefore, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, 5. Sun and the moon, 7. Me, the person, 8. Makes up Ishvara. Now look at it, you are included in the whole thing. Therefore, that connectedness is natural. For the heart to accept that, hey, physically, my physical body is there in Ishvara's body. My mind, etc., in Ishvara's mind. My knowledge, etc., in Ishvara's knowledge. My ignorance in Ishvara's Maya Shakti. And the consciousness I am is Ishvara himself. No difference. Therefore, such an upasana, such an invocation, such a worship helps bridge that emotional gap, because of which you cannot say, I am Ishvara. You are bridging that gap, that conditioning. Either it can be a religious conditioning or an atheistic conditioning, either way. Religiously, there can be a conditioning. I am so used to worshipping Ishvara as someone out there, someone up there. Therefore, difficult for me to say Aham Brahmasmi iti. Difficult. Or atheistic. I don't believe in Ishvara. I only believe in some higher power business. That type of secular nonsense. That type of nonsense. That atheistic belief. Yeah. Because, all these things come up. Whether it's theism, atheism, all this, or agnostic, all these things come up because we take Ishvara as something to be believed. And we see various invocations of Ishvara. We can't relate to all of them. Nobody can. Nobody is meant to also. You invoke in Ishvara in the manner you can relate to. But for that you have to understand what is Ishvara. That Ishvara is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam has to be understood. But if you are taking Ishvara as only something to be believed in, theism, atheism, agnoism, all that nonsense will come up. Bound to come up. Because you are taking something to be understood as something to be believed in. And that is the tragedy. That is the tragedy of both being religious and irreligious. Both it is. What is to be understood is taken as something to be believed in. How? You are supposed to understand something, not believe in it. Therefore, the intelligence behind the creation and the material for the creation is Ishvara. If you understand that, then there is no problems. Then there is no problem in different invocation also. That's what being truly inclusive means. You are okay with all forms of worship. Inclusiveness is not
that you thrusting your form of worship on me and saying that is, you must accept it. Yeah, I accept your right to worship as you want. Don't try to make me worship in your way. I will do it in my way. As long as my form of worship does not disturb somebody else, it's fine. Disturb somebody else meaning it does not impinge on their freedom. Inclusiveness is not accepting somebody who comes and says, I have the right to convert you. Why? Because my religion says that. But my religion doesn't say that. So I have to be inclusive by accepting him. But then what about my views and my standpoint? That has to be excluded. What type of inclusiveness is that? Therefore, we understand Ishvara as a whole manifestation, including the idiot who says there is no Ishvara. We accept him also as Ishvara. As manifestation of Ishvara, we accept him also. Therefore, in this understanding, there is no problems. Okay? There is no problem in terms of theism, atheism, agnostic, being an agnostic, etc. There is a problem. You understand it. It is as valid, if not more valid, as any of the scientific principles. Gravity, for example, is something to be understood, not something to be believed in or to be disbelieved in or to keep an open mind. I don't make any conclusions whether gravity is there or not. It is not meant for any of this. It is a matter for understanding. Similarly here, Ishvara is meant for understanding. After understanding, you are invoking the Avirna Nimitta Upadana Karana, which is really speaking nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. That Ishvara is being invoked in this eightfold form. Why? Because it includes me into the picture. Therefore, that religious or non-religious conditioning, because of which I can't say Aham Brahmasmi, can be said. Because I am included anyway. In the worship I am included. Therefore I am part of the whole thing. Yeah, when you are looking at a form, then it's part only. Content, one and the same. Therefore, in that upasana, it becomes easier to bridge that gap between me, the worshipper, the seeker, and me, the sought, in the statement Aham Brahmasmi. That gap is easier to bridge. Because otherwise, why should you ask that question? In spite of listening, how exactly will Maya go? That question is not coming from an intellectual standpoint. It is not coming from a logical standpoint. It's coming more from an emotional, experience-oriented standpoint. So there are two aspects here. One is purely emotional. My emotional connect or disconnect is becoming a condition. Because logically I understand everything clearly. It's all very clear. But that heart finding it difficult to accept. Either because of my bhakti or lack of it. Okay? Because I am so used to seeing Ishvara in only one given form. As Rama, Krishna, or Devi, whatever. I am so used to seeing that only. Therefore, it's becoming difficult. When I say Ishvara and I are one, I'm thinking of that form and saying, how can I be that? Or I am an atheist saying there is no Ishvara, etc., etc. What are you talking about? Then forget it. Vedanta is not meant for you. Don't even come anywhere near. Because you are not willing to examine your belief system. It is not that Vedanta is rejecting them. We don't reject anyone. I am open to discussion with anyone and everyone. Where you should, we are compassionate enough to have a discussion with an atheist also. Provided it can be a discussion. Is he willing to examine his own conditionings?
But you may be conditioned. What about you accepting it? I have done that long back. I have examined every conditioning of my mind. Some which are useful, I have kept it as a practice, as an attitude, not as a conditioning, as an attitude. Some discipline, etc., which is good, which was a conditioning before, now as an attitude, as a discipline, it is kept. Which are not useful, junked long back. Therefore, unless you are willing to accept that there may be conditioning and willing to have a look at it, it's very difficult. Becomes very, very difficult. It's important to see that in our own minds, how conditioned we are. And in this case, the conditioning is religious. Conditioning can be in various ways. Like yesterday or day, a friend of mine forwarded, this general WhatsApp forwards, but this was interesting. It is written by somebody who claims to be an IAS officer. And he said, I am ashamed of our servants. Look at this, migrants are walking and things like that. And nobody is there to look after them. And in very grandiose language, Sashi Tharoor type of language, he was trying to express his shame and his guilt and trying to make everyone else feel guilty, blaming the government, which he is a part of because he is an IAS officer. Therefore, he is a part of, and it is a bureaucracy that is ruling most of the states at least now. Therefore, there is a lot of power in his hands. So when this friend forwarded me all this, I patiently read through the whole thing. And then I made a comment. If he is really that ashamed about it, he should do something about it. Like so many of people whom I know have done. Like Aim for Seva cannot prevent the migrants from walking. We can't provide everyone with trucks, etc. Nobody can, no political party can. That's why in the 1,000 trucks that Congress said they will send, they put in auto rickshaws, motorbikes, etc. also into it, saying to make up the number 1,000. No, nobody has that much of resources or ability to get buses with permits and drivers and things like that. Therefore, what are we doing? Providing food, drink, clothes, footwear, making their walk as comfortable as we can. We are doing something about it. So I wrote to this guy, so many people doing something about it. If he is that ashamed about their condition or that compassionate about the condition of the people, do something about it. Logical statement, which should have been taken logically, because he gave me a letter which is full of erroneous logic, but logic at least, attempt to be logic. The guy got upset. I'm sorry I forwarded to this. My apologies. I will never forward something like this to you. I said, you may not, but both our stands will remain unchanged. So he wrote back saying, some people never change. So then I couldn't resist myself. My humorous side came up and said, are you really talking about yourself? And I put a smiley face on it and said, now look at it. This is where your emotion interferes with your logic. What started as a logical discussion it was not logical, it became emotional. Why? Because no self-examination. I am thinking in harmony with that IAS officer. I also feel bad, I can't do something about it. That I have not done. I feel guilty and ashamed that I have not done anything about it now. Good. Then get over that guilt by doing something. If nothing, write a check for organizations who are doing something. Minimum. I can't afford more than $1,000. Okay, send that $1,000. At least 5 migrants' food and drink and footwear will be taken care of. Spend that. Something you have done. And if 1,000 people think like that and do, hey, 5,000 people taken care of. No, but you are emotionally responding because you are not willing to examine.
your own self. Similarly, this can happen to a student of Vedanta as well. And that guy claims, the person who forwarded this claims to be a student of Vedanta. Doesn't come to me for Vedanta, goes somewhere else, but that's okay. There are 350 of us, okay? So there are a lot of people who can go to. Okay. Now, look at this. Similarly, for a student of Vedanta, the emotion of looking at Ishvara as something, or blanket rejection, atheism, rejecting of all types of Ishvara, because the Ishvara that you were exposed to, the idea of Ishvara that you were exposed to was all this, which you couldn't understand. Therefore, instead of making an attempt to understand, you chose to reject the whole thing. Another conditioning. One guy has got a religious conditioning, and the other guy has created what in psychology we call as an anti-script. One guy has a script, religious script. The other guy has got an anti-script, opposite of that. Both are scripts, both are conditionings. Both are scripts, both are conditionings. At least the religious guy will get some punya, God's grace, and he can, there is a hope that he can come to some understanding. The guy who has rejected everything, how will he come? Because he has rejected everything. He is not going to come anywhere near any of these things. I have friends like that. They see me, they know, they seek my advice on certain issues because they know I am a thinker, all right, and I am very objective. They know all this, but this they won't come to. Rejection. So I say a prayer for them. God, your job to take care of it, not mine. If they come to me, I will take it as my job to help them. But if they don't come to me, what do I do? Your job, not mine. I can only do this much, not more than that. That's all the power you have given me. You have not given me any more power than that. So, what power you have given me, I will use it full and help people. Therefore, these two types of conditionings, okay, to get over that. The religious conditioning of one form is Ishvara. The atheistic conditioning that there is no Ishvara, both of them. You invoke Ishvara as this eightfold form, which is pratyakshena available. Everyone sees it. Ishvara is this manifestation, is Ishvara. Manifestation is seen by you. Therefore, in the manifestation is invoked as Ishvara. What is there to believe in it? There is something to understand. And that understanding, the whole verses have been explaining it. Ishvara is abhinna nimitta upadana karma. Ishvara is the intelligence and the material for the whole creation. And in his Swarupa, he is nothing but limitless consciousness, existence. Something to be understood. Therefore, that intellectual understanding, for your heart to accept it, have this upasana. He says, Ashtamurti Brut Deva Pujanam. Okay. This he is highlighting in the next verse as well. Ameyasu manakshipram arodum naharti yataha मूर्ति अष्टकम नीयम भूते गुरुहु सर्वात्म भावना. अमेयासु मनः क्षिप्रम आरोढ़ुम न अर्हति इत्यतः. अमेयासु, that which cannot be conceived of, which cannot be made into a concept. Ishvara is not a concept. The reality is not a concept. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman is not a concept, it is a reality. Therefore, Ameyasu, that which cannot be made into a concept, into a category. Ameyasu. Manaha Kshipram Arudum na arthati. The mind cannot always fully accept it fast. Mind cannot capture it fast. Why? Because the mind is used. all our learning has been conceptual in nature. Whereas Vedanta is about the non-conceptual reality. Nirgunam Brahma, that which cannot be conceived of, is not a concept. A non-conceptual reality. The mind cannot easily go to that. Mind, because you are not used to that. Na arhati ityataha, therefore, ashtakamayī murti bhrute. Therefore, this type of understanding Ishvara in this form, in this manifested form, Guruhu Sarvatma Bhavana. The Guru gives this upasana for helping you to gain that Sarvatma Bhava, that understanding, Aham Brahmasmi, therefore I am everything. Because to understand I am consciousness is not enough. That will be like Sakshi Bhava, which is good, but still only a halfway house. If you can function as Sakshi Bhava, great. Wow, you are supposed to reckon with. But it's still a halfway house. You still have the problem of finitude, isolation, etc. It doesn't complete the picture. Therefore, if you want the picture to be complete, Sarvatma Bhava, I am everything, has to come in. For I am everything, I have to understand that the non-conceptual reality of pure consciousness. Satyam Jnanam Anantam has to be very clear to me. My heart has to accept that this is the Ishvara we are talking about. Struggle. You struggle with that. Emotional struggle. Not an intellectual struggle, an emotional struggle. Therefore, to overcome that, Ashtamurti Brad Deva Pujanam. Is not exactly a concept because Ashtamurti is available for your perception. But Ishvara himself is manifest like this. Ishvara himself is manifest like this. In this understanding, in this upasana, the heart accepts it. In this form of worship. It can be a worship outside or purely contemplation. Okay, what is I sit down? What is Ishvara? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, Sun and the moon and the star and myself. All this make up the Ishvara. The more I start understanding that, the more I start being comfortable with that, emotionally comfortable with that. Okay? This is that as in one of the camps we saw Deva Puja, Pitra Puja, Rishi Puja, etc. Okay? That is a spin-off from this. That is a spin-off from this. That you are feeling connected to the Devas, feeling connected to your Rishis, you are feeling connected to the ancestors, all that, you are feeling connected to the environment. All that is a spin-off from this Ashtamurti Brad Deva Pujanam. You invoke Ishvara in this form, in the form of everything. And what is that everything? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, the 5-element model, and sun and the moon for all source of energy, etc. And myself to bring in consciousness, because I am the conscious being here. So to bring in consciousness into the picture, existence is all this, consciousness is this, and it is so vast, limitlessness, Akasha, etc. Therefore limitlessness. So the understanding of existence is everything, the understanding of consciousness and everything being limitless, all that is put together in this form, which is easier for the heart to accept. If you can go directly into Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman and that is clear, no problems. If what is taught in Murti Ashtakam, Dakshinamurti Ashtakam, what is taught is clear, no problems. That means all of you are walking away as wise people with the Nishtha, I am everything. If that is a conditioning, then these two verses are not necessary for you. But if you cannot walk away with that conditioning, if you cannot walk away with that knowledge that I am everything, with that feeling that I am everything, with the bhavana that I am everything, if you cannot walk away with that, then these two verses are necessary. And the next verses that are coming also is necessary. Okay? Therefore, Ashtamurti Brut Deva Pujanam Guruhu Sarvatma Bhavanam, he presents it, he says. The Guru presents it. It's a contemplation that will help you
accept Aham Brahmasmi, etc. emotionally. Here you have accepted with the teaching. The strength of the teaching is that you cannot have a logical argument against it. Try to bring out a logical argument. You will see the hollowness of the logical argument because you have exposed to enough of the teaching. You yourself will see that. Hey, that's not logical. You will see that. The heart has a logic of its own. What the heart wants. Okay. Therefore, what the heart cannot accept, it struggles to accept. What to do? Therefore, I need to help my emotions, my emotional being. I need to help that. Any questions, or is the idea clear?
Yes, Swami.
Clear? Okay.
Yes,
Okay. विराट शरीरे ब्रह्मांडे प्राणिनामपि विग्रहे शत्रुशं सत्तत्व संगः तत्सर्वत्र अपि अनुवर्तते. Says Virat Sharire, the Sharira of the Virat, the cosmic form, Ishvara. Brahmande, otherwise known as Brahmandam. Praninam api Sharire, api Vigrahe, in the form of a prani, of an individual. Shatrisham Sat Tattvam Sangha. The 36 elements, 36 principles we talked about in Shivagama, second verse. You don't have to bother what the 36 is for the time being. Just have to see that everything that is there. Sangataha. Sarvatra api anuvartate. Sarvatra api anuvartate. Let us look at its simple form like this. Virata Sharire. In the total manifestation. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, the sun and the moon and consciousness, all of it is there. Life is there. Here also Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, sun and the moon as deities, my sense organs, etc. And consciousness, life, all that is there. That's why the idea came. What is the macrocosm and the microcosm are similar. The macrocosm, the totality, and the individual reflect each other. What is present in the totality is present in the individual as well. Has to be, there is Kari Karana Sambandha, cause-effect relationship. Therefore, what is there in the cause, the totality, has to be there in the effect, the individual. Therefore, the macrocosm, what you call it, Brahmandam, and the microcosm, the Jiva, the Jivi, the Shariradhari, Pranadhari, that person, there is a commonness in the whole thing. There is a commonness. What is there is here, what is here is there. So, the idea is, this is to help the Upasana, okay? To help the Upasana. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi make the whole Ishvara. Wow, yes. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi make the human body as well. My mind, etc. Sun and the moon there. Sun and the moon as deities for my mind, my thinking, etc. Consciousness there, consciousness here. Only one consciousness at the back of both anyway. At the back of both, behind both, as a Adhisthana for both, there is only one consciousness. Therefore, that oneness at that level you see is directly perceivable to you. Remember, this is not an emotional make-believe. This is not an emotional make-believe because all of it is seen by you. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi in the totality and Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi in the Sharira seen by you. Can anyone say I don't see it? I hope not. If you are struggling to see, please see. Sun and the moon there, sun and the moon in terms of my eyes, etc., my ability to see, etc., that's the Devata. Consciousness there, consciousness here. One consciousness behind the whole thing. Therefore, there is nothing make-believe about this upasana. Okay? It is not conceptualization. It is based on your understanding, your experience of the world. Everything is pratyaksham for you. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi, sun and the moon. Directly perceived by you. Consciousness, aparoksha jnanam anyway. It's aparoksham. It's not an object of perception, but it is directly known to you as the I. Therefore, none of this is a concept, none of this is an emotional make-believe. We are not playing games with our mind. It is based on what we call as facts in the functioning world and what is beyond the functioning world in terms of consciousness. All of that. What is the basis for the whole thing? That's also included. There is no make-believe thing here. It's not that type of upasana where you conceive, you imagine, etc. No. We have said Ishvara is everything. If Ishvara is everything, sun and the moon and the star automatically come into the picture. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi come into the picture. What is make-believe there? What is conceptualization there? There is no conceptualization. We say Ishvara is everything. He is the intelligence and the material for the whole creation. If that is true, then all that you see is Ishvara. The only conceptualization, if at all, is that in this form you are looking at Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Instead of worshipping him as Rama, Krishna, Devi, etc., you are worshipping Ishvara in this, which is not a mere form, which is a fact. If you take the creation take on, it's a fact. It's functionally valid. People can debate. I don't. People can Rama existed or not, Krishna existed or not. I don't have that issue. But people can debate that. But can you debate Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi exist or not? Foolishness. Consciousness exists or not? Foolishness. The very fact you are alive and thinking and raising an idea that consciousness is not there itself shows that you are consciousness. Therefore, none of these are debatable ideas. That is Ishvara. It is not debatable. Once you understand, there is no more debate in that. It is not questionable. This is it. Whether Ishvara is sitting in heaven or not, debatable. Where is that heaven? Debatable, questionable. All the thing can come in. But we accept. Those religious beliefs are meant for certain groups of people, they are fine. But Ishvara is everything is not something debatable, something to be understood. Therefore, this whole upasana is based on your understanding. And it is meant for your heart to accept that understanding. For what has gone in through the ears to the head, for it to sink into the heart, you are giving an upasana. So even for whatever cultural background and conditionings, you can't accept any other form of Ishvara. This should be easily acceptable. Because purely knowledge based, purely based on your understanding that Ishvara is everything. Okay, there may be some Brihaspatis who may still have some problems. They can contact me one-on-one, or if they are comfortable, they can raise the issue right now in the class. So if you have any questions or anything, shoot. Any questions, or is it all clear? All clear?
Yes, Swamiji. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Then he's going one more verse with respect to this topic. Yeah, one more verse here he says. व्याप्ति वृष्टि शरीरेस्मिन् मनसा वृष्टिरूपिणः तस्मात् सर्वात्मकम् इदं स्वशरीरं विचिन्तयेत्. व्याप्तिः व्यष्टिः शरीरे अस्मिन् शरीरे, which is vyashti, individual. Vyapti is samashti, the totality. Manasaha vyashti rupinaha. My mind is part of the vyashti rupa. My mind. So one part of the whole cosmic mind. Okay. Tasmat sarvatmakam idam swashariram vichantaye. That means what? Swashariram, your own body. Vichantaye, think about it as what? Sarvatmakam idam. That this is one with the cosmos. Your body is one with the cosmos. First step of the Upasana. Okay? My body is part of the total Ishvara's body. Can you see that clearly? It's something to be seen very clearly. That this body of mine, made up of Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, is one with the total Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi. The total Ishvara it is part of. In fact, it does not have a separate existence. Yeah. Ishvara's order, that's all. This is part of it. I cannot say my body. Why? If Ishvara says my body, this body is included. That's finished. I cannot say I body, nor can I really say my body. It only feels mine, okay? There is some sort of an experience, my body. Because this mind is connected only to this body. Because this mind is connected only with this body, it gives you a sense of independence from everything else. Sense. In fact, what it gives you is a sense of disconnectedness with everything else. And this disconnectedness gives you the sense, I am this much only. Now to be out there and conquer everything. Really, it gives you a sense of disconnectedness. Why? Because I am this much only. And the world is so vast. And because we are so self-conscious and self-judgmental, we cannot be in harmony with the whole world. Look at it. A dog in the wild, or a squirrel, or a tiger, or a deer, they have perfect harmony with the environment. Human beings cannot be. See, they also identify with the body. But their self-awareness is limited. Therefore, their self-judgment is limited. There is no self-judgment coming in there. Therefore, their desires are also limited to food, clothing, shelter. Clothing also not necessary. Food and shelter. Biological needs. That's all. We are self-judgmental. I am this much only. I am good, I am bad, I am this, I am that, whatever. A whole lot of socio-cultural conditionings come into the picture. Therefore, my disconnectedness with everything is more. To counter that, here, now start looking at this body as part of the whole universe, as one with the whole universe. This body is one with Ishvara's body. There is no difference. It may be a little part and whole, but that's okay for the time being. It's a stepping stone, remember. It's a stepping stone. Therefore, it's okay that this body is one with Ishvara's body. Therefore, automatically, there is a sense of harmony, there is a sense of connectedness coming in. That I am not exactly a disconnected entity. Yeah, I am disconnected enough in the sense I can go for a walk and come back. That also lockdown now, difficult. But the Indian jugaad is there, we know how to get around it. Okay, problematic.
Therefore, in this connectedness that we feel, out of recognition of oneness between the totality and the individual, the individual does not exist apart from the totality. The relationship between the individual and the totality is not like the relationship between two individuals. Excuse me. Between two individuals, the relationship is different. They are two equally finite beings. Whereas the relationship between individual and totality is separate. The totality includes the individual. The individual cannot exist separate from the total. It does not exist separate from the totality. Therefore, I am part of the whole. In fact, this body is one with Ishvara's body. That's why there is a sacredness then with respect to this body. Why? It's Ishvara's body. It's one with Ishvara's body. Ishvara is something sacred. Therefore, this body of mine is also sacred. Therefore, I'll take care of it well, use it well, not abuse it with excesses of any kind, nurture it, but not pamper it and make it useless. Not pamper it and make it useless. Use it well, because body is meant to be used. Therefore, the whole picture comes in. And most importantly, that feeling of being one with everything. Because the first and the foremost identification is with the body. That is the most difficult thing when you are reversing the process. The body identification is the strongest. Therefore, it starts there and says, this body, part of everything. Clear about this? Or any questions? No questions, huh? Okay. Now, if there are no questions, because intellectually it's very easy to understand, what I want you all to do during the week, whenever you get a few moments of time with yourself, and I'm sure there are enough moments like that. So instead of switching on the TV or something like that, sit for a few minutes, and start seeing that this body of yours is part of the soul cosmos, which is nothing but Ishvara's body. Start doing that. Few minutes every day, easy to get. Yeah. Start doing that regularly. Okay. Now I'm not asking you to do a formal sit-down meditation. That can be done. That's fine. This is a little different. You are seeing this, that your body is part of the cosmos, which is Ishvara's body. In fact, your body is non-separate from Ishvara's body. Ishvara's body sustains my body. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, sun and the moon and consciousness sustain this body. Are you all getting what I am trying to say? Yes or no?
Yes, Swami.
Then do that. Okay? Don't come back next Sunday saying, oh, what did Swamiji say? No. Do this. Spend some time, because high time now that this class started owning up the knowledge. High time. Time is long past. Okay? You have been with me for 10 years. That's a long time. More than 10 years, 12 years. Yeah. 12 years is enough. Close the class down after 12 years. Let them be on their own after that. Okay? It's a long time. So do that, and then next class we will go ahead further with what has to be done with the consciousness, etc. How it is one with everything. Okay? Corresponding to the earth, corresponding to the water, elaborately. Okay? Much more than what may be necessary in today's world, but he deals with it very elaborately, very nicely. Some of it can be taken, some of it can be left with understanding. Okay? So, good place to stop. More of this next class. Om Tat Sat. Enjoyed being with all of you.